For the short delay, now let's take a look at your headlines.
The Government Medical Officers Association demands transparency over COVID-19 situation in Sri Lanka. Government announces concessions for electricity bills of March, April and May. Vice Admiral Nishantha Ulugitanna appointed as the new commander of the Sri Lanka Navy. Driver who ran over a police officer in Hakmana remanded until the 23rd. Several villagers in Kantale inconvenienced due to a garbage issue.
Now those stories in detail. The authorities are continuing to trace contacts of the COVID patients of the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre. Now PCR tests are being carried out on those who have been traced. As per the PCR test results carried out in Rajangana and surrounding areas, 17 patients have been found. Now 19 patients were reported yesterday. 9 of them were people who came in contact with those at the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre. 4 inmates of the Senapura Rehabilitation Centre have been identified as COVID patients. The other patients were returnees from overseas.
11 Grama Niladhari divisions out of 21 in the Rajangana area have been identified as areas which are at risk for the spread of the virus. The public health inspector in Rajangana said 248 families are currently undergoing self-quarantine. Accordingly, 1,016 individuals in the Rajangana area have been subjected to self-quarantine.
We have identified 17 patients in the Rajangana area in the Anuradhapura district. We have also carried out nearly 560 PCR tests. We hope to conduct nearly 100 PCR tests today as well. Even if these tests turn out negative, we have decided to limit travelling in the area and conduct PCR tests after a week. That is because we cannot be satisfied even if the tests showed negative results. Our observations reveal that the virus has spread across the Yaya 1, Yaya 5, Yaya 3, Yaya 6 and Yaya 18 areas.
A group who had associated the COVID-19 cases identified in the Varallavatta and Bandaravatta areas in Gampaha were subject to PCR tests today at the Gampaha Municipal Council Community Hall. Nearly 70 individuals were subject to PCR tests during the medical program, which was led by the Chief Medical Officer of Health in Gampaha.
මම හිතන්නේ පාලනය කර ගත හැකි මට්ටමක තියෙන්නේ ආසාදිතයෝ සිටියට ඒ ආසාදිතයෝ දෙදෙනා විතරයි දැන්ට පොසිටිව් කේසස් විදිහට තියෙන්නේ.
22 individuals of 6 families in the Andana-Vattakanda area in Kahavatta were directed to self-quarantine yesterday. The residents belonging to the wife of the army officer attached to the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre is among the 6 houses. The number of police officers at the Sigiriya police have been limited. This was due to an officer of the Sigiriya police living nearby to an individual attached to the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre who tested positive for the virus. Our correspondent said a few police officers were also directed to PCR tests. Outsiders are not allowed to enter the Sigiriya police station. Complaints will be accepted opposite the police station by officers attached to the Dambulla police.
Thus far, based on research done closely with the University of Hong Kong, there has been no major change in the genetic makeup of the virus. Initially, the COVID-19 cases detected displayed symptoms of the virus. However, the subsequent patients we identified from the Navy following PCR tests did not display any symptoms of the virus. Many asymptomatic cases were identified from that cluster. Once again, we have detected small clusters which include both symptomatic and asymptomatic cases. The counsellor who tested positive for the virus recently had displayed symptoms of the virus. Even the prison inmate at the Valikada prison displayed symptoms of that virus, but it was only detected later after conducting a PCR test. At present, the cases that have been identified include both symptomatic and asymptomatic cases. We must be even more vigilant as there were travel restrictions imposed previously. We need to ensure the spread of the virus is under control. At present, several organizations are in the process of finding an injection for the virus. We cannot be certain on a timeline as to when an injection will be manufactured. An antivirus has not been found as yet. The only method to control the virus is by controlling the transmission of the virus.
පාලන ක්‍රමය තමයි අපි අර කිව්ව විදිහට රෝගයේ පැතිරීම පාලනය වීම තමයි ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම ගන්න අවිය.
I have to say, with regard to this cluster, there are a number of ideas and opinions that have been expressed. This is actually a cluster that is concentrated at this particular centre. And from outside, there have been only 20 patients reported, all with connections to this cluster. All the other patients are from the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre. Out of 20, 16 are from the Rajangana area. Only 4 are from outside this area. There are rumours about patients reportedly being found from different parts of the country. There is also talk of there being strong communal transmission and the alleged start of the second wave in some cases. In studying this data, it is clear that there is no such situation taking place.
සඳහන් කරනවා ඒ කාරණා මේ දත්ත පරීක්ෂා කිරීමෙන් ඕන කිරු තේරෙනවා එහෙම තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙලා නැහැ කියලා.
The next few days will be very important. It is because the people of this country made great sacrifices and committed themselves from the 10th of March up until the 30th of April that we had no patients from society since the 30th of April. Especially those who worked at this Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre have come on holiday and gone to certain places unaware that there are infected people in their camp. That is why all the citizens in the society should know that there is a situation like this. If you come out of the house, you have to wear a mask. As mentioned earlier, a mask should not be used to cover the chin but cover the nose and the mouth. At the same time, if you keep disinfecting hands and maintain social distancing as much as possible, we will be able to prevent a second wave from happening.
යම්කිසි සංගවීමක් සත්‍ය තොරතුරු සංගවීමක් කරනවා කියන මේක යම් සත්‍යතාවයක් තියෙනවා. අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා ගරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය
His Excellency the President and the Prime Minister summoned the COVID eradication task force yesterday and instructed all officers in the task force on how this COVID situation should be controlled. The President and the Prime Minister advised all of us. In such a case, I do not think there is any space for anyone involved in this at this time to say that the political authorities are not involved. The Triforces, the police and the health sector too are working together to eradicate this wave of COVID from Sri Lanka.
The GMOA convened a media briefing today to explain the current COVID-19 situation in the country.
We have identified many clusters at present, more than the discovery of patients in April and March. Therefore, the risk of the virus being spread is at a high level. We are at a critical juncture when it comes to public health. The future will be decided on the action taken by the authorities at the Ministry of Health and the Infectious Diseases Unit. At a time where the political assistance has also been rendered towards that endeavour, the situation will become worse if correct decisions are not taken. The committee that makes technical decisions regarding this matter should convene and make summaries and analysis daily. They at least have to convene once a week and analyse the situation. We have clearly stated that we should identify and learn from the mistakes we did in the Valisara Navy camp incident, but that did not happen. Therefore, we ask you to learn the lessons from the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre incident. Let us categorize small groups. Let us take steps to not mix them with others. The spread to a lot of people in a particular establishment can be prevented. Apart from the northern province, only a small number of patients are being reported from other parts of the country. The level of risk varies from province to province. We can opt for a zonal lockdown, then the effect will be less. We will be able to prevent the threat on an island-wide range if you can implement this in other parts of the country as well.
රටටම මේකේ බලපෑම එන එක අපිට වළක්ව ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි.
කොරෝනා වසංගතය සම්බන්ධයෙන් වැරදි තොරතුරු සමාජ
Spreading false information about COVID-19 has been a barricade for us to prevent the second wave from embarking. Reasons being, the relevant parties entrusted with providing us with the information not providing the correct information and false information being circulated on media. There is nothing called centralized in health. We are of the stance that the health process should be carried out under a centralized government.
පාලනය යටතේ සිද්ධ යුතු කියන ස්ථාවරය අපි ඉන්නේ.
This is the view of the Government Medical Officers Forum. For the past 7 months, the health sector, together with the government, managed the situation well. Ideally, for every 100 individuals, there would be 80 positive cases. However, at present in Sri Lanka, only about 20 in every 100 are displaying symptoms of the virus. Of the 20 individuals displaying symptoms, the condition of only about 1/4 of that worsens to the extent that requires treatment at an ICU. The health sector's responsibility is to ensure the general public will not panic. We urge everyone to adhere to health guidelines, maintain social distancing and always wear a face mask. When there are so many intellectual organizations in the country, it is a shame how a trade union held so many discussions. All members and parts of the Government Medical Officers Association are businessmen who work on commissions. It is a business in there. The collective of civil society organizations and trade unions has stated that the risk of COVID-19 has resurfaced due to political expediency. The second wave of COVID-19 is upon us due to the undisciplined actions of this government. The government has come to the point of taking decisions disregarding health rules and regulations just because they want to secure a two-thirds majority. When the Director General of Health Services tells us to stay 3 feet apart, Minister Mahinda Amaravira says that we will be allowed to travel as per the number of seats on the buses. When the Director General of Health Services told us to wear a mask, the police also told us to wear a mask. Then someone else from health authorities comes and says that a mask is not essential. The advice of the World Health Organization was not sought. They did not follow instructions. They did not follow the instructions given by the technical officers of the Ministry of Health in Sri Lanka. Many patients are not found when the number of tests conducted is low. They even claim credit for the 80% that are asymptomatic. They also take advantage of the situation that comes with low testing. The government is trying to take the election process forward by hiding the real situation.
Political parties are also urging the government to provide correct information about the current coronavirus situation to the public. We still don't have the correct data to determine whether this is the first or second wave of the coronavirus. That is because we don't have the numbers of how many people are infected and from what areas. Due to the need to face the election, the government is hiding information about the coronavirus. If we are to do an election with corona, we will have to do so in consensus with the health officials, military officials, public officers and the political parties. Take all the steps possible to ensure the protection of the people. Do not hide this. You cannot do this by concealing information. We ask that this election be done by discussing these things openly and taking the necessary precautions as opposed to doing elections over dead bodies.
Former parliamentarian Nama Rajpaksa says he's ready to hold the election under any condition. The Health Ministry has a different opinion. They believe that this is not the second wave of COVID-19 and that it is still the first wave of another cluster. As a responsible government, we would like to clearly say that as the same way we control the first wave, we will control a second wave and even a third wave. The people of this country have the faith that it will be the case. This government can do that. But this talk of postponing elections is more along the lines of their fear of the wave of the people, as opposed to their fear of COVID. Our people has an election commission to postpone elections. Their mentality is such that they will postpone elections. That is why they postponed elections in 2015. I don't think there is any issue. As the Podujana Peramuna, we are ready to face the elections without holding a single meeting. We are ready under any condition to face this election.
Now, postal voting for the general election has been taking place over the last few days. Today is the third day of postal voting.
This is how the postal voting was conducted at the Matara Divisional Secretariat and the Divisional Education Office today.
Sir.
Our correspondent stated that postal voting was carried out as per health regulations. Meanwhile, postal voting was also held at the Northwestern Provincial Department of Education. The Elections Commission stated that the postal voting for the security forces will be conducted tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Those who are unable to cast their ballots on these days will have the opportunity to cast their ballots through the district secretariats on the 20th and 21st of this month. Nearly 705,085 voters are eligible to cast postal votes at this general election.
The gazette notification to legalise the health procedures for the general election are yet to be published. The chairman of the Elections Commission has repeatedly stated in this regard.
We urge the health authorities to make that gazette notification public. Without it, it will be difficult for us to continue voting.
The Association of Public Health Inspectors who met the Election Commission today stressed the need to publish this gazette notification as soon as possible.
The chairman emphasised that steps would be taken to issue the Gazette notification as soon as possible in a manner relevant to the election. As public health inspectors, we emphasised that this was essential in a situation where it would otherwise be difficult to prevent another wave of the coronavirus in the future. As far as I know, the draft is done. But just because the draft is done, you cannot proceed without the permission of the Attorney General. We can't force them, can we? The Attorney General is an independent institution. We have forwarded this to him. There is no point in publishing a gazette if it hasn't been drafted in a way that if there is a case taken up on the matter, it doesn't support continuous hearing of the case.
Now this guideline has been sent to the Attorney General's Department and permission has been obtained from the Attorney General's Department. After receiving that approval, the Minister of Health still has this document with her and it is pending approval. There are a lot of people who are on duty to do these things. It is yet to be published. When a set of guidelines are not gazetted, all those who are duty bound to protect these regulations will have to face many practical problems. We would like to emphasize that the relevant authorities have not yet taken the necessary steps in gazetting the health regulations. We also pointed this matter out in a letter to the Minister of Health. The space available to the relevant officials to control has been abolished. In a situation where corona patients are emerging from the society, the ability of relevant officials to control the situation is hampered by not gazetting these health regulations. I think if a candidate will have to be quarantined now, during the most crucial 2 weeks in the election, it can affect their chances in the election.
If we don't abide by the health guidelines, we can't hold the election. Besides, it is compulsory to always wear face masks, wash your hands, maintain a meter distance. Also, if the people don't protect themselves and don't limit travel between districts, we will have to consider the danger of the disease spreading in the country again and cite that this could severely disrupt the election process. The fact that this gazette notification is not there is a great hindrance to us. We earnestly appeal to the health authorities to publish this gazette notification soon, including the health guidelines given to us. If the gazette notification is not published, the Elections Commission discussed that it is difficult to hold the elections. On the 21st, we are reconvening the Commission and we will discuss this again. Now in more news, Newsfirst had exposed an unauthorized mineral exploration project on Manna Island involving an Australian company named Titanium Sands Limited. Today the Cabinet of Ministers had decided to appoint a special committee in order to investigate the legality of the exploration project.
Newsfirst revealed how an Australian company named Titanium Sands Limited said it had discovered 265 metric tons of minerals on Manna Island following a series of exploration activities carried out since 2015. Titanium Sands Limited said it had used the exploration licenses of the subsidiaries of two Mauritius companies named Srinel Holdings Limited and Bright Angel Limited. The Australian company said it had owned both these Mauritius companies. However, the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau told Newsfirst that the local companies that owned licenses had not informed them regarding the involvement of any of the two Mauritius companies or the Australian company. Today, the Cabinet of Ministers had approved a proposal submitted by the Ministry of Industries seeking to appoint a committee to investigate the project.
Officials of the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau today said they haven't issued such permits to Titanium Sands to conduct such a project to research into mineral sand. Even though such a permit is not given, they are promoting this in an international level, saying they have been granted such a permit. The problem is that the past government has granted permission to several individuals who are close associates of the then subject minister to conduct mining and research on mineral deposits. Even though they have the permit, they fail to meet the technical requirements for this. So they are selling these permits to foreign companies. We will investigate this matter, but this company, Titanium Sands Private Limited, claimed to hold a permit to research minerals in Manna. If they are going above the law, we will stop that immediately. And if the past government has issued permits to individuals and damage has been done to the country, we will cancel those permits.
අවලංගු කිරීම සඳහා භූවිද්‍යා හා පතල් කාර්යාංශයට නිර්දේශ කරන්නත් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු.
According to the cabinet paper seen by Newsfirst, the committee would be tasked with identifying the authority under which Titanium Sands Limited has been carrying out exploration activities on Manor Island. The committee has also been tasked with identifying whether the license holders had inked an agreement with Titanium Sands Limited. Other responsibilities vested with the committee include studying the process of issuing exploration licenses and mining licenses and the requirement that needs to be fulfilled to obtain them. An email sent by Newsfirst to Titanium Sands Limited seeking a clarification on its authority to carry out exploration activities went unanswered.
What happened to the investigations probing the corrupt sand mining projects that defrauded 880 million rupees of the public? The sand was spread on the coastal stretch of the Mount Lavinia beach only to be washed away after several days. The Kalutara beach, Angulana beach and Mount Lavinia were later introduced as a joint sand nourishment project. Authorities claim that the sand which was spread was meant to be washed away in order to create another beach nearby. Project is in utter dismay with no scientific basis. A report compiled by a group of international scientists led by Professor Charita Patiarachi revealed.
Sand mining was carried out on the Mount Lavinia, Lunava and Kalutara beaches. 890 million rupees was spent on that. The tender was originally given to a Denmark company, but the project was carried out by the local entity, Access International Private Limited. The Denmark company did not even land in the island. There was no supervision at all. The local company filled sand and the sand was washed away in a week's time. This company has been spending money on the election. An order comes from the higher-ups to the Director General of the Department of Coast Conservation to hand over this project to this company.
Who is behind the Mount Lavinia sand nourishment project that laid waste to millions of public funds? Will the law be enacted on these corrupt officials? People will keep a close watch.
We want a clean parliament. We want a clean government. Think before you vote.
Now, News First continuously reported on the sand mining scandal taking place in Kantale, and the relaxation on the issuance of permits for sand transportation has only added fuel to the fire. Amid such enthusiasm towards illegal sand mining, it's amusing how provincial authorities have failed to address the garbage disposal issue that has inconvenienced locals in Kantale.
The garbage collected within the limits of the Kantale town is disposed at the 11th mile post area. The 11th mile post area shelters more than 50 families whose main livelihood is farming. These villagers are already victims of the ongoing human-elephant conflict, and now their problems have only increased with the increase in garbage dump in the area. Locals in the 11th mile post area, 9th mile post area, Seruvila, Sinipura, Agbopura, Jayantipura and Vanala are facing several difficulties due to the garbage issue.
We can't do anything here. The bacteria and virus in this garbage dump are worse than corona. They are disinfecting buildings and houses. Why can't they remove this garbage dump from here? The entire village will be destroyed because of a garbage dump. No one will be able to live in this village in another 3 months. Garbage has been disposed on more than 4 acres of land. On top of this problem, wild elephants encroach our villages at night.
The garbage collected in Kantale town is brought here by the Pradeshya Sabha. Garbage has been dumped on this 3-acre land for many years. The fate of the elephants coming from the jungle to eat that garbage is indeed a very sad one. This elephant eats ton of salmontines and polythene a day. This will cause serious harm to our elephants. It is now difficult to save crops. Farmers have to watch and be alert both day and night. They even attack the villagers at night. We asked the chairman of the Kantale Pradeshya Sabha what his solution to this problem was. So far, we have received financial assistance to transform the site into a location to start a compost fertilizer project. We have planned to commence work on this site in 2 phases, especially under the Regional Development Assistance Project. We have received 2 million rupees. Especially the country's leaders are being told not to return with election promises tomorrow. You have to pay for these lives. You should be responsible for this. If the Russia-Do sand mining was emulated in solving this problem, the confidence of the people would have been ensured.
More news after this short commercial break.
Playing this weekend on Yes 101.
The Weekend Top 30 with Hollywood Hamilton.
What's up? It's Hollywood Hamilton. You know what we do around here. It's the fastest moving countdown in America. Some of the biggest names in the industry in the studio.
Hi, I'm Ariana Grande.
This is Drake.
This is Lady Gaga.
Backstage with us and on the WT30 hotline. I'll catch you this weekend for the Weekend Top 30.
The Weekend Top 30 with Hollywood Hamilton on Yes 101.
Welcome back to the news. Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appointed Vice Admiral Nishant Ulugethanna as the commander of the Navy. He is the 24th commander of the Sri Lankan Navy.
Vice Admiral Nishant Ulugethanna, as the commander of the Navy, called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. He also presented a memento to the President at this meeting. Former Commander of the Navy, Admiral Pial de Silva, as per tradition, handed over the ceremonial sword to the new Commander of the Navy, Vice Admiral Nishant Ulugethanna. He then began his duties. A special Navy Guard of Honor was also accorded to the new Commander of the Navy. Vice Admiral Nishant Ulugethanna is a distinguished alumnus of Royal College, Colombo. Demonstrating his abilities as a student leader, he was a member of the school cadet squadron and was a part of the team that won the Herman Lowe Trophy twice. He joined the Executive Division of the Navy in 1985 and received his basic training at the Naval and Maritime Academy, Trincomalee. Ulugethanna was promoted to the rank of Deputy Lieutenant on the 7th of January 1987 and was promoted to the rank of Rear Admiral on the 1st of July 2015. His wife and family members were present at his inauguration today, which saw them partake in religious observances. Admiral Pial de Silva, the former commander of the Navy, retired today after 36 years of service. An alumnus of Dharmashoka College, Galle, he served in the Sri Lanka Navy since 1985. Admiral Pial de Silva was felicitated at the Navy headquarters this morning.
Now, in more news, several companies operating in the vehicle and spare part industry have been adversely affected due to the restrictions imposed on the importation of commercial vehicles.
In May this year, expenditure on vehicle imports declined approximately 20% to $47.5 million from $58.7 million in May of 2019. Companies operating in vehicle and spare part industries have experienced a significant impact on stock holding cost due to the slow movement in vehicle stocks during this period. Having to finance its working capital via import loans and short-term bank loans has negatively affected the financial position of many companies as well. According to the annual report of the Finance Ministry, approximately 344,000 vehicles were imported last year. Customs Department, responding to a RTI request, said last year's vehicle imports generated revenue of more than 131.4 billion rupees. Economists point out that the decline in vehicle imports will lead to a drastic reduction in state tax revenue in 2020.
We have opened these LCs according to import control regulation much prior to COVID issue. once you open the LC, you can't expect immediate shipment. So for the LCs for which we have opened somewhere in January, February, vehicles are coming in May, June, July. So the international arrangement which we have entered into comes to a standstill. The government banks are not allowing us to negotiate the LC. Because of this suspension, we will not be able to complete the transaction. We'll face a lot of problems because no foreign banks will honor our letter of credit. The government, without publishing gazettes, have started issuing circulars, and even those circulars, they are changing overnight. So we don't know which circular is valid and on what terms that we should work. Not only us, banks find it difficult for the customs to charge a penalty stating that there is a violation of import control regulation. There should be a valid gazetted notification.
Hello and welcome to the newsroom here at the Newsfirst Centre in the heart of Colombo. Now, as a channel that is dedicated to the service of the people and as a channel that has constantly aired and raised the concerns of the general public to those in power, we have consistently over the course of this relatively uncertain period taken up a number of issues that we feel and that you have told us are burning issues that concern you and your day-to-day lives. Now, yesterday we looked at a number of areas. We looked at how this COVID problem affected you, your families, your friends, your loved ones, and we also took a look at how COVID affected you financially. One of the biggest problems we have heard at Newsfirst from you, the public, is with regard to the utility bills that we have heard have been charged exorbitant rates during a period where there was lockdown, there was no economic activity, there was no work, and there was no income for a significant number of families. Following us raising these concerns on news over the last few days as well as yesterday, today we have a positive response from the government as well as the minister in charge of the particular subject. But we are just not a channel that is for the Sri Lankans sitting here at home. We also make it a point to raise the concerns of the countless Sri Lankans who are toiling hard overseas to send back money here to maintain their families and contribute to the growth of our paradise island. Now, let's have a look at some of the figures with regard to the foreign employment, an area that is of significant value to the Sri Lankan economy, particularly because it is one of the areas which contribute some of our highest incomes. Now, if you look here, the total number of Sri Lankans expatriates come to about 2 million in total terms, and following the onset of the COVID crisis and the breakdown of the economies around the world, particularly in developed countries and countries where our Sri Lankans were residing and working and sending back these foreign exchange from, a significant number, around 40,000 people, sought to return home. This varied from reasons of security, health concerns, losing their incomes, losing their places to stay, and just a drastic change in circumstance. Now, out of the people that did show interest in returning, which is about 40,000 plus or minus, 16,000 people have so far been repatriated by a government mission, most consistently using aircrafts from the national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines as well. Now, in the course of doing this, we have not been completely successful. We have lost a few lives that still matter. We have lost 35 Sri Lankans due to the COVID-19 virus. And this total, obviously, as you know, is higher than the 11 Sri Lankans that we lost here at home. So this is the current situation when it comes to the status of our Sri Lankans living overseas. And let's have a look at what some of the authorities have to say.
Sri Lankan expatriates are currently facing a myriad of problems in foreign countries. This includes their inability to return to the country, the expiry of their visas, the closure of international airports, undergoing quarantine, and the loss of employment. The process of repatriating these individuals who are facing several problems was temporarily suspended since yesterday. Sri Lankans in the Middle East and European regions who are seeking to return to the country will have to wait further following this decision.
Our jobs have been suspended since March. For 4 months, our company has not paid us our salaries. We are only given 1 meal per day. I have a family in Sri Lanka. when we urged our company and pushed them to give us the air ticket. However, the embassy is saying that flights are not operating. Therefore, we wish to ask the embassy to get involved and provide us with a solution. We are making this statement from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. There are around 13 of us here. We don't have a proper place to sleep. We can only afford one meal a day. We request to bring us back to Sri Lanka. We are not displaying any symptoms of sickness. However, this situation is dangerous. It has been 2.5 months since we joined this company. We are expecting to go back to Sri Lanka. We lost our jobs on the 18th of March due to the coronavirus pandemic. We have been stuck in this position from that day until today. We have been going to the embassy. They say that their action would depend on the decision of the Sri Lankan government. It is difficult for us to find food or water. We have been asked to vacate our lodging next Saturday. When we contacted the embassy, they say that the government has not responded and that they cannot do anything regarding it. We wish to tell the President that it is difficult to find food or water. There are 13 of us here. We are only living on tea and water. If anyone falls sick suddenly, we don't have the means to even purchase Panadol. If we go out, the temperature is around 45 to 50 degrees Celsius. We have no place to go. No one is there to accept us.
I am in
Abu Dhabi with my wife. We have been unable to work since February. I am finding it difficult to pay the rent. I registered myself at the Abu Dhabi embassy on the 7th of this month, seeking to return back to Sri Lanka. However, we haven't been able to return to Sri Lanka. We went to the embassy, but they haven't responded to us. We request that a plan be implemented to allow us to return.
Why did the government suspend the move to repatriate Sri Lankan expatriates?
This is a very difficult exercise as we are implementing it amidst suspension on flights from foreign countries. It was at a time during which other countries too had suspended air travel that we brought back our expatriates. Due to COVID-19 clusters created at the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre, we are carrying out PCR tests on them since we directed a large number of people to quarantine centres immediately and carried out PCR tests on them. We are having a slight issue in repatriating Sri Lankan expatriates. Therefore, we have delayed this exercise by a few days.
What are the steps that would be taken in the future?
When there is space in quarantine centres, we hope to resume this exercise after consulting the army and health authorities. Our objective is to facilitate the return of all Sri Lankan expatriates seeking to return to Sri Lanka. One can argue as to why this process cannot be expedited. The reason for that is because all those people must arrive in the country safely. We must consider their health security in the country. At the same time, we must not allow anyone living in Sri Lanka to contract the disease from them. It is due to these limitations that we are carrying out this exercise at a normal pace in a systematic and planned manner.
However, the Ethara Api organisation had this to say.
There are at least 18,000 Sri Lankans in the Middle East and Kuwait who are seeking to return to the country among all Sri Lankan expatriates. However, only 3,000 have been registered. Therefore, the government must negotiate with the government of Kuwait to grant another amnesty period for these undocumented people. Around 40,000 people, including 12,000 in Saudi Arabia, 6,000 in Qatar and 10,000 in Dubai, are hoping to return to the country. They have lost their jobs. They are facing problems in finding food. There are expectant mothers as well. A single aircraft has flown only once or twice to the countries in the Middle East to repatriate the people. A flight had arrived from Kuwait. However, any of our flights had not gone there. Due to the latest developments concerning the spread of the virus, they have suspended the entry of flights. A large number of Sri Lankans have been affected as a result of this situation. They are facing several problems with lodging and food problems and are suffering from various illnesses. Their families and children have also been left helpless in this country. They have lost their jobs as well. Therefore, as a country, Sri Lanka has left its expatriates helpless. They sent aircrafts to bring back people for the election. This government has left these people who were once viewed as heroes helpless. The government does not have a plan regarding foreign expatriates.
The total number of expatriates had been recorded at 20,000 this year. Some among these expatriates who had flown overseas for employment, education and other purposes had returned to the country with the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak. By yesterday, 16,456 expatriates had been repatriated from 74 countries. According to data from the Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau, 40,000 individuals had requested to return to the country. The problem of the Sri Lankans overseas is not limited to their need to return.
This group of people who are hailed as heroes and the students who went overseas for education are facing a plethora of problems at present. They had gone to rich countries like Russia, France and Germany after mortgaging their homes, paddy fields, pawning their jewelry or obtaining a bank loan under a guarantee. They have been affected by a severe financial crisis as they do not have a proper income. The dependents of those who are overseas have been affected. No one inquires into them as well. They issued 5,000 rupees twice and that was the end of it. These heroes are posting videos on the internet. We have a problem as to what our foreign missions are doing. As a citizen, I wish to ask what these embassies are doing by operating using our tax money. The heads of these missions seem to be asleep. As they send their children to schools and live in comfort, they keep their future generation in the country and feed off the people's money, without considering these heroes who are facing hardships and their children. We wish to ask them as to whether they are asleep at present.
Meanwhile, Sri Lankans in the Middle East are facing a major problem as their employment contracts have expired.
More Sri Lankan expatriates have lost their jobs. They do not have a place of shelter. They do not have food or water. They mostly depend on others. We request the authorities to draw their kind attention towards the people in the Middle East. At a time when the repatriation of expatriates has been suspended, we request the embassies to serve justice upon us.
The Deputy General Manager and spokesperson of the Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau, Mangala Randeniya, issued a clarification in this regard.
They have been unable to come back to the country as their employment contracts have expired. We will collect the necessary data and identify the locations of these people. Sri Lankan foreign missions are taking steps to study their situation.
Meanwhile, 35 Sri Lankans have died due to the coronavirus overseas. General Manager of the Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau, M.V. Vansekara, said that 600,000 rupees would be granted as compensation on behalf of every deceased individual. As a country, the people will have to face the challenge of expatriates returning to the country, the loss of their jobs, the disruption of their academic activities, and the lack of new jobs being created overseas.
All sectors that generate cash inflows to the country have been affected. It is difficult to assume that this situation would be restored to normalcy within a short time. With the breakdown of foreign economies, the demand for jobs will reduce. The drop in remittance of expatriate workers has struck a massive blow on the economic front and also the domestic economy. Sri Lanka must draw its attention towards creating an environment that attracts foreign investments. We are passing an era in which the government must think deeply regarding the reality of the economic situation and take the necessary decisions.
Now, a former DIG testifying before the Presidential Commission yesterday said that some VIPs who were informed of the April 21st attacks prior to the tragedy had told their security personnel to avoid revealing that they had been informed of the attacks.
Former DIG of the Police Special Security Range, Dushan Priyalal, testifying before the Presidential Commission probing the April 21st attack, said he was informed about an impending terrorist attack on the 10th of April 2019. The Ministerial Security Division, Judicial Security Division, Diplomatic Security Division and the Security Divisions of former Presidents Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga and Mahinda Rajapaksa had fallen under his purview. Accordingly, the former DIG said he had passed on the information to these security divisions that had been handling the security of 268 VIPs. However, the witness told the commission that not all VIPs had been informed of the impending attack and that following the carnage, the VIPs who were aware of the attack had informed their security personnel to avoid divulging that they had been informed regarding the
ඔබතුමාට අද ප්‍රායෝගිකව කියන මේ පාසුකාරේ දවසක මගේ කටවහන්න වෙන හිල්ලක් කියලා විතරයි. මේ පාසුකාරේ කරේ මුම්මයි. මේක මට කරගවන්නේ මම ඔය ඇත්ත කියන නිසා ඒ සංඛ්‍යාලේ
I am telling you fearlessly that I can only be silenced regarding the April 21st attacks by a gun to my throat. They are the ones behind the attacks. They are turning this on me because I am speaking the truth with facts and statistics. Maithripala Sirisena's name is at the top of the first page of the statistics in the intelligence report. Who is named second? Mahinda Rajapaksa. Don't you remember Vimal Weerawansa saying Mahinda Rajapaksa got a letter too? You saw how the media buried the fact and highlighted me because I spoke the truth. All I said was what my father, who was in a sick bed, told me. My sister is behind me. She was the one who called and told me after the bombs went off that day. I have gone everywhere to give evidence. I've gone to the CID 8 times. My sister was summoned as well. They have taken 3 of my mobile phones. Are we murderers? Don't you think I'm saddened by what happened that day? I tried to speak the truth. My sister spoke to me the day, and then Neomal Pereira, the MP from Puttlam, who also schooled at St. Joseph's College, spoke to me at about 8:40 p.m. and asked me if I knew that bombs have gone off in Colombo. I was in Badulla. I was organizing an Aurudu festival with the band that was to be held on the 20th and 21st of April. They are saying I was the one who spoke to my dad. What blatant lies! They ruined my image to bury something else. They turned me into a joke and hurled a lot of hate and ridicule my way. They still make social media memes asking whether I go anywhere without seeking my dad's permission. I ask, how can my dad know better than you? I know better than you. Later I figured out that my dad got to know about this from a CID officer who came to visit him in the hospital because he had an inquiry with the CID regarding a vehicle issue. In the end, I was the scapegoat. What I did was when Ranil Wickramasinghe held a media briefing and told me to tell the truth, I went with the report my dad received and told everything. I will answer it in 2 days. I told them this bombing was planned back then. When I was leaving the premises, a journalist asked me if the police were aware of the revelations I made. That's when I said, how can the police not know when my father, who was in his sickbed, knew about this? They turned this on me, saying I knew about it and never told anyone. I swear by you, and I am telling you, only 42% of this is true. Sajith Premadasa was supposed to get 52% of the votes. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was supposed to get 50%. If Gotabaya Rajapaksa secured votes from his camp, he would have gotten 47%. So in such an instance, if neither of the candidates has secured 50% of the total votes, they must go for the second preference. Sajith Premadasa was the clear winner with 300,000 votes when it came to the second preference. The bomb was planned to prevent this from happening. I will state this fearlessly. Now Vimal Weerawansa is saying Zaharan was aiming to plant these bombs at temples and not churches. Now you can see for yourselves that the cat is slowly jumping out of the bag. So if there's anything to take away from this, that is to look at this clearly, not because I'm saying so, but to think for yourselves once again. They disrupted the Catholic and Muslim voter base with this. That's what added up to that 5% winning margin. This is where they started their political deceit. All people want to do is live. So, when you instill fear into people's lives, make it seem that the bombs might go off, they can change governments easily. That's what happened here.
We have been responding to this allegation from the day it was made. We have been doing it for a long time. If you look at the real situation, my police officer, he was informed via a letter, but the officer did not inform any of the VIPs. Now Mahinda Rajapaksa, as the opposition leader at the time, his security head may have been informed. That doesn't mean he has gone and informed opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa of the matter. Personally, even though my security officer received the letter, he did not inform me. Everyone was relaxed. In any case, that is not how you inform of an impending attack of that nature anyway. You have to bring in all the heads of the VIP security to one place and very clearly elaborate on this matter. At least that is how they did it under previous governments when it came to these kinds of matters. That isn't our fault. Those who handled the VIP security at the time must be held responsible. They should bring them down. Speak to them, explain the situation, and they should let the security know to inform the VIP. Did they do that? It is because they just sent a letter to absolve themselves of the responsibility of necessary communications.
Party leaders. Political update.
We now draw attention towards the views expressed by party leaders on the election platform.
Former President Maithripala Sirisena expressed his views on the general election during a meeting in the Kottapitia area in Bakamuna. Although the coronavirus is present, the election cannot be postponed. Postponing the election will mark the end of the country. Please understand clearly that regardless of anyone's opinion, there is a serious economic crisis in the country. The country will head into destruction if the new parliament is not convened and if a budget is not passed. Some are making foolish statements seeking to postpone the election. Countries in which the coronavirus pandemic was worse had conducted elections. The coronavirus pandemic is dangerous. I am not telling this because I want to enter parliament. I am not interested in entering parliament. I have been there for 26 years. I also served as the president nearly 5 years. This country would fall into massive trouble if the election is postponed. Therefore, let us understand this and face this challenge posed by the coronavirus. Let us try to go and cast our vote during the election on the scheduled date by overcoming these obstacles.
The Samagi Jana Balawege held a rally under the patronage of its leader Sajith Premadasa in Hatton today. I wish to say that my future aspiration is to facilitate estate workers to become owners of small estates. I will then be able to be happy that the citizenship introduced by my father would be complete. We must relieve the estate workers of their problems and poverty. When the Samagi Jana Balawege registered its victory, we will set up not just a ministry but also a separate development task force under the supervision of the Prime Minister for the estate sector and strengthen your lives. The economy of the common man has dropped due to the COVID-19 pandemic. A large number of people are finding it difficult to at least find 3 meals per day. We will issue a monthly grant of 20,000 rupees until the economic conditions of the poor people in the estate sector are uplifted.
Now, the tipper truck driver responsible for running over a group of police officers at a police checkpoint in Hakmana was remanded until the 23rd of July by the Mathura Magistrates Court today.
The suspects were charged with murder, attempt murder, causing minor and serious injuries to government officers, reckless driving as well as driving on the wrong side of the road. 1 police constable died and 2 police sergeants were injured in the incident which took place on Monday night. Sri Lanka police yesterday arrested the tipper truck driver, adding he was arrested at around 2:30 p.m. yesterday in Ranala, which comes under the purview of the Hungama police jurisdiction. According to police, the tipper truck driver is a 34-year-old resident of Uhupitigoda, Ambalantota.
Now, international media rights body Reporters Without Borders has said it is upheld over the manhandling of a journalist by a police inspector within the premises of a court recently.
Last week, a photojournalist attached to a newspaper had been manhandled at the Colombo High Court by Police Inspector Nirmal Rangajiva when he attempted to capture his photograph. Issuing a statement today, Reporters Without Borders said that this act of intimidation cannot go unpunished. It urged the government to punish any incident of violence committed by officials against journalists in the country.
With that, it's a wrap of Primetime News. We leave you tonight with another rendition of the Nagitimu Sri Lanka song. For the Newsfirst team, I've been John Fernando, along with our sign language interpreter, Brian P. Cruz. Take care and good night.
Gannada Nagitimu Sri Lanka. Best YouTube video of the day.
Sangka pada keterin Nagitimu Sri Lanka. Kita mulai naik kawan berhala Nagitimu Sri Lanka. Kita ini nawa lokaya mume Nagitimu Sri Lanka. Nagitimu Sri Lanka. Nagitimu Sri Lanka. Kita
නැද්ද? නැගිටිමු ශ්‍රී ලංකා.